Colonel Harlan Whitaker had not planned on being back in Seattle that night. The drive up from the old family ranch in Montana had been a reluctant concession to a voicemail from his estranged son, something about needing to talk, the words clipped and distant like radio static over enemy lines. Harlan gripped the steering wheel of his battered Ford F-150, the wipers slapping rhythmically against the relentless Pacific Northwest rain, his mind replaying the last time they had spoken face-to-face. It had been 3 years, in the sterile glow of a VA hospital waiting room, Raphael's voice trembling as he uttered the word "gay" like it was a grenade pin pulled. Harlan had walked out then, not in rage, but in the suffocating silence of a man who had spent decades commanding troops in silence, burying emotions deeper than foxholes. Now, at 62, with silver threading his close-cropped hair and lines etched into his face like battle maps, Harlan pulled into the city limits, the skyline a jagged silhouette against the storm clouds. He had served 30 years in the army, from the dusty trails of Fallujah to the frozen peaks of Afghanistan, leading Delta Force teams through hell and back. Medals gathered dust in a cedar box back home, alongside faded photos of fallen brothers. Retirement had meant quiet days mending fences and staring at the horizon, but the emptiness gnawed like shrapnel in old wounds. Raphael's call had cracked that facade, pulling him north like a compass needle to true north. The coffee shop, Cascade Brew, squatted on the corner of Pike and Broadway, its neon sign flickering like a heartbeat. Harlan parked a block away, boots splashing through puddles as he approached. Through the fogged window, he spotted Raphael behind the counter, wiping down the espresso machine with that same focused grace he remembered from childhood fishing trips, when the boy would thread worms onto hooks without flinching. Raphael looked good, lean and assured in his early 20s, no, 28 now, Harlan corrected himself, time a thief in the night. The rainbow pin caught the light, a defiant speck of color in the muted tones of steamed milk and ground beans. Harlan pushed through the door, the bell jingling softly, but before he could call out, the patrol car idled outside, its engine a low growl. He hung back in the shadows, watching as Raphael stepped out for his break, the cup in hand, shoulders squared against the chill. Then the officer's voice slithered out, laced with that casual cruelty Harlan had heard in barracks taunts, the kind that masked deeper insecurities. "Hey, Rainbow Boy!" The words hung in the air, and Raphael's posture shifted, not crumbling, but coiling, like a spring under pressure. Harlan felt it then, a surge in his chest, the same primal roar that had propelled him through ambushes. He stepped forward, his presence filling the alley like a storm front. The officers, Hale and his partner, a stocky kid named Ruiz, straightened, their smirks fading as Harlan loomed into the headlights. He was built like the mountains he called home, 6'3", with hands that could crush stone and eyes that had stared down warlords. His jacket, olive drab and weathered, bore no patches, but the way he carried himself spoke volumes. "That's my son," Harlan repeated, his voice steady as granite, each word measured to land like a warning shot. "And that pin? It's braver than half the ribbons I earned overseas. You got a problem with it, you got a problem with me. Now move along before I make this official." Hale's face flushed, a mix of bluster and backpedal. "Just routine, sir. No harm meant." But his eyes darted, the bravado evaporating like mist. Ruiz muttered something into his radio, and the car peeled away, tires hissing on wet asphalt. Raphael stood there, rain tracing rivulets down his face, mixing with what might have been unshed tears. He looked at his father, the man he had idolized and then buried under layers of resentment, and whispered, "Dad? What the hell are you doing here?" Harlan pulled him into a rough embrace, the kind that smelled of leather and pine, ignoring the damp chill. "You called. I came." Simple words, but they carried the weight of unspoken apologies, of nights Harlan had lain awake replaying that hospital goodbye, wondering if pride was a chain or a shield. They retreated to the coffee shop, the door swinging shut behind them like a seal on old wounds. The night manager, a wiry woman named Lena with tattoos snaking up her arms, shot Raphael a questioning glance but said nothing, pouring 2 black coffees without asking. They slid into a booth by the window, the rain pattering like impatient fingers. Raphael traced the rim of his mug, his hazel eyes, mirrors of Harlan's own, flickering with a storm of emotions. "I didn't think you'd show." The message was, Vague. On purpose, maybe. Harlan nodded, sipping the bitter brew. Heard enough to know you needed backup. That pin, it's you, isn't it? Out and proud. A ghost of a smile touched Raphael's lips. Yeah. Every day. Reminds me I'm not hiding anymore. He paused, the vulnerability cracking through. But tonight. It just felt like a bullseye. Harlan leaned forward, his voice dropping to that command timbre that had steadied platoons. Listen to me, RAF. I faced down worse than playground bullies with badges. In Kandahar, we had a kid, Corporal Ellis, wore a cross necklace like it was armor. Took fire for it, from our own side sometimes. Never backed down. You remind me of him. Raphael's breath caught. His father, the unyielding colonel, drawing parallels? It was a bridge extending over the chasm between them. You never talked about that. About acceptance. I was wrong, Harlan admitted, the words tasting like ash and redemption. After your mom died, I thought toughness was the only legacy. Buried everything else. But losing you, almost, it's worse than any battlefield. The confession hung there, raw and unpolished. Raphael reached across the table, his hand covering his father's calloused one. For the first time in years, the touch didn't feel like surrender, it felt like alliance. As the clock ticked past midnight, they talked, not of wars or wounds, but of small things, Raphael's poetry slams at local open mics, Harlan's failed attempts at dating apps back home, the way Seattle's fog mirrored the haze in their hearts. Laughter crept in, tentative at first, then fuller, echoing off the empty counters. By the time Raphael clocked out, the rain had eased to a whisper. They walked to Harlan's truck, shoulders brushing in companionable silence. Stay a few days, Raphael said, not a question. There's someone I want you to meet. Elias. He's important. Harlan clapped a hand on his son's shoulder, the gesture firm yet tender. Wouldn't miss it. As they drove through the neon-veined streets, Seattle unfolding like a reluctant confession, Raphael felt the pin on his collar warm against his skin. It wasn't just a symbol anymore, it was a beacon, drawing light from the darkest corners. But in the quiet hours before dawn, as Harlan settled into the spare room of Raphael's cramped Capitol Hill apartment, doubts lingered like fog. Acceptance was a battlefield too, and Harlan wondered if he had the grit to fight it through. Raphael, staring at the ceiling, traced the scars of old arguments in his mind, hoping this reunion wasn't just another ceasefire, but the start of peace. The city slept, but for father and son, the real awakening had just begun. Morning light filtered through the blinds of Raphael's apartment, casting striped shadows across the hardwood floors scarred by years of renters' indifference. The space was a mosaic of his life, dog-eared books of Whitman and Baldwin stacked on milk crates, a guitar leaning against the wall like a forgotten lover, and on the kitchen counter, a half-finished sketch of the Space Needle warped by Seattle's perpetual gloom. Raphael stirred first, the scent of stale coffee pulling him from dreams haunted by badge flashes and paternal ghosts. He padded to the kitchen in boxers and a threadbare tee, starting the pot with ritualistic care, each scoop of grounds a measure of normalcy. Harlan emerged minutes later, dressed in yesterday's jeans and a flannel shirt that smelled faintly of sagebrush. His hair was combed back, but sleep had softened the edges of his vigilance, making him look less like a commander and more like a man adrift. Coffee's a godsend, he grunted, accepting the mug with a nod. They sat at the wobbly formica table, the steam rising between them like a veil lifting. So, this Elias, Harlan ventured, stirring in sugar with deliberate slowness. How long? Raphael's cheeks warmed, a flush that had nothing to do with the brew. 8 months. Met him at a reading, his photography exhibit on queer history in the Northwest. He's got this way of capturing light in the rain, makes you see the beauty in the blur. He smiled, the memory softening his features. Tall, messy blonde hair, always in those paint-splattered overalls. Artist through and through. Harlan listened, his expression a careful neutral, schooled from years of debriefings. Inside, a tangle of instincts warred, the protective father surfacing against the soldier's ingrained wariness of anything that disrupted the chain of command. Homosexuality in the ranks had been a whispered minefield, don't ask don't tell, a policy that scarred more than it shielded. But Raphael's voice, alive with that rare spark, chipped at the armor. "Sound solid," Harlan said finally, raising his mug. "Invite him over. I'll grill steaks, got a portable in the truck." Raphael laughed, a sound like breaking dawn. "Deal. But fair warning, Elias is vegan. Tofu it is." The day unfolded in unhurried layers. Raphael led Harlan through Capitol Hill, the neighborhood pulsing with the eclectic heartbeat of Seattle's queer scene. They wandered past murals of intertwined figures in defiant embrace, coffee carts hawking lattes with foam art of rainbows and fists. At Pike Place Market, Harlan watched in bemused silence as Raphael haggled for fresh basil, his son's ease with vendors a far cry from the awkward teen who once stammered through grocery runs back in Billings. "You've built something here," Harlan observed as they paused by the waterfront, ferries cutting white wakes across the Sound. Gulls wheeled overhead, their cries mingling with the distant hum of traffic. Raphael leaned on the railing, wind tousling his hair. "Tried to. After college, creative writing at UW, I bounced around. Portland, then back here. The pin? Started as a dare from a friend at a rally. Now it's armor." He glanced sideways. "What about you? Ranch life treating the old war horse okay?" Harlan chuckled, a rumble deep in his chest. "Fences need mending more than I do. Dated a widow from town, Margaret. She's got a mean poker face, keeps me honest." He hesitated, then added, "Therapy too. VA group. Talking about the silences. About you." The admission landed soft but seismic. Raphael turned, eye-searching his father's face for the lie, finding only earnest lines. "I'm proud of you for that, Dad." They returned to the apartment laden with market bags, the air thick with the promise of tentative normalcy. Elias arrived at dusk, knocking with a rhythm that echoed his carefree stride. He was as Raphael described, 6'2", with sun-bleached curls framing a face dusted in perpetual stubble, his green eyes sharp as fractured emeralds. Overalls hung loose over a thermal shirt, pockets bulging with brushes and a battered Leica camera. "RAF's told me stories," Elias said, shaking Harlan's hand with a grip that matched the older man's. "The hero of the alleyway takedown. Thanks for having my back." Harlan sized him up, not with suspicion, but appraisal, the way he vetted recruits. "Just doing what fathers do. Come in, dinner's on." The evening wove magic from mundane threads. They ate on the fire escape, city lights twinkling below like scattered stars, tofu skewers sizzling alongside Harlan's improvised sides of grilled corn and quinoa salad. Conversation flowed, Elias sharing tales of his latest project, photographing trans elders in the Cascades, Raphael reciting a snippet of his latest poem, words tumbling like waterfalls over jagged rock, Harlan recounting a lighter war story, the time his team smuggled a stray dog through checkpoint lines. Laughter bridged the gaps, but undercurrent stirred. As Elias cleared plates, Harlan pulled Raphael aside in the kitchen. "He's good for you. Sees the fire in you I missed for too long." Raphael nodded, throat tight. "Yeah. But it's fragile, you know? Love in this world, it's a risk." Harlan clasped his shoulder. "Worth every damn one." Night deepened, and Elias stayed, his presence a warm anchor as Harlan retired to the couch. In the bedroom, tangled sheets and whispered affections, Raphael felt the pieces align, father reconciled, lover devoted, self unapologetic. But as sleep claimed him, a text buzzed on his phone, anonymous, from a blocked number, "Rainbow Boy thinks he's safe. Watch your back." He deleted it, chalking it to paranoia, the echo of Hale's sneer. Seattle's underbelly had teeth, but tonight, wrapped in Elias's arms, Raphael chose belief over fear. Across town, in a dimly lit precinct break room, Officer Hale nursed a beer, scrolling through mugshots with Ruiz. "That old man's got pull," he muttered, the slight from the alley festering like an untreated wound. But the kid? Fair game. The rain resumed, drumming against windows like warnings ignored. Days blurred into a rhythm Harlan hadn't known since leave rotations. Mornings meant runs along the Burke-Gilman Trail, father and son pounding pavement in sync, breath sinking like old drills. Afternoons, Harlan tagged along to Raphael's shifts at Cascade Brew, perched on a stool with a newspaper, his presence a silent deterrent. Elias joined evenings, the trio exploring hidden gems, a speakeasy jazz club in Belltown where saxophones wailed like lost souls, or the Fremont Troll sculpture, its concrete grip on a VW Beetle a metaphor for clinging to the unconventional. One afternoon, as Harlan and Raphael browsed a used bookstore on First Avenue, the bell above the door chimed with intrusion. A man in his 40s, broad and bearded, approached Raphael with a predatory grin. "Raphael Whitaker? Long time. Remember me?" Coach Delaney from high school. Raphael stiffened, memories flooding, locker room shoves, slurs hissed under bleacher shadows. "Yeah. Hi." Delaney's eyes flicked to the pin, then Harlan. "Still playing for the other team, huh?" "Town talks, you know." Harlan stepped forward, voice low thunder. "He plays for himself. And if you got issues, take them elsewhere." Delaney backed off, muttering retreats, but the encounter lingered, a crack in the facade. That night, over takeout pho from a Vietnamese spot in the International District, Raphael opened up. "High school was hell, Dad. The hiding, the fear. Coming out, to you, was the hardest." Harlan listened, then shared his own ghosts, a brother lost to AIDS in the 80s, shame silencing the family. "I failed you by failing him first." Tears came then, salt mingling with noodle broth, forgiveness tasting like homecoming. But shadows lengthened. Elias's exhibit opening loomed, a showcase of intimate portraits that bared souls, including one of Raphael midlaugh, eyes alight with unspoken dreams. Invites went out, including a reluctant one to Lena from the shop, whose tough exterior hid her own queer past. As the week crested, Harlan felt the pull of Montana, but the anchor of this new bond held firm. "One more thing," he told Raphael over breakfast. "Proud of the man you've become. Pin and all." Raphael hugged him, fierce and fleeting. "Stay for the opening. See Elias's work. See me." Harlan agreed, unaware that across the city, Hale and Delaney nursed grudges in a dive bar, words turning to plans, the city's undercurrents churning toward collision. The gallery nestled in Pioneer Square, a converted warehouse with exposed brick walls and track lighting that carved drama from every shadow. Elias's exhibit, Veins of Visibility, thrummed with anticipation, velvet ropes guiding patrons through rooms alive with photographs, sepia-toned elders recounting Stonewall echoes, young activists in Ferguson-inspired poses, and at the center, Raphael's portrait, larger than life, his gaze a challenge wrapped in tenderness. Raphael arrived early, nerves jangling like loose change, the rainbow pin polished to a gleam. Elias fussed with framing, his overalls swapped for slim chinos and a silk shirt unbuttoned at the collar, revealing a tattoo of intertwined vines symbolizing resilience. "You look incredible," Elias murmured, pulling Raphael close for a kiss that tasted of turpentine and promise. "This one's for us." Harlan trailed in behind, uncomfortable in borrowed slacks and a button-down, but his stride carried the quiet authority of someone who had navigated worse minefields than art crowds. He scanned the room, a mix of hipsters in ironic tees, silver-haired patrons clutching wine flutes, and a cluster of queer activists with pins mirroring Raphael's. Lena hovered near the bar, her ink a badge of solidarity. "Impressive setup," Harlan said to Elias, clapping his shoulder. "Like Recon photos, capture the truth before it shifts." Elias grinned. "High praise from a legend. IAF's been singing your praises all week." The opening swelled, bodies pressing in waves, murmurs rising to a hum. Raphael mingled, his poetry voice surfacing in fluid conversations, but his eyes sought Harlan, gauging the older man's immersion. Harlan stood before a photo of two men embracing under a rainbow flag in the rain-soaked streets of San Francisco, the image raw with 1970s grit. "This It's history I glossed over, he admitted when Raphael joined him. Thought wars were the only fights that mattered. Raphael's hand brushed his father's arm. They all are. But this one? It's personal. A ripple cut through the crowd then, Officer Hale, in civilian jeans and a hoodie, sidling in with Delaney at his elbow. They moved like predators in plain sight, Hale's gaze locking on Raphael with feigned casualness. Nice shindig, Rainbow. Didn't peg you for the artsy type. Raphael's pulse spiked, but he held ground. Open to the public, officer. Wine's that way. Delaney chuckled, low and mean. Brought a date, actually. Thought we'd support local talent. His eyes raked Elias, then Harlan, recognition dawning. Wait, you're the colonel? Small world. Harlan's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed even. World smaller for fools who can't let go. Tension coiled, but the curator's speech shattered it, calling Elias to the makeshift podium. He spoke of light-piercing darkness, of lenses as lifelines, his words weaving vulnerability into valor. Applause thundered, and Raphael beamed, pride swelling as Harlan joined in, his clap resolute. Post-speech, the trio escaped to a quieter corner, toasting with plastic cups of Pinot. To visibility, Elias proposed, clinking glasses. To family, Harlan added, he's toast including them all. But as the night waned, Hale cornered Raphael near the exit, breath sour with Cabernet. Your old man's got clout, but it won't shield you forever. Freaks like you. Elias materialized, camera in hand like a weapon. Smile for the lens, arsehole. This goes viral, you're done. Hale recoiled, but the seed was planted, doubt worming into Raphael's joy. They piled into an Uber home, the ride silent save for rain-lashed windows. At the apartment, Harlan poured scotch, his flask a relic from deployments, passing glasses around. Men like that thrive on fear. Don't give it to them. Raphael nodded, but sleep evaded him that night, Elias's snores a distant comfort. He slipped out to the fire escape, city lights blurring through unshed tears. The pin felt heavy, a talisman teetering on curse. Days later, the backlash bloomed. Anonymous posts flooded local forums, smears calling the exhibit propaganda, tagging Hale's precinct with veiled threats. Elias's inbox brimmed with hate mail, his hands shaking as he deleted them. This is on me, Raphael whispered one morning, guilt etching his face. No, Elias countered, cupping his chin. It's the world catching up. We fight it together. Harlan, sensing the shift, extended his stay. He spent afternoons at the local library, devouring books on queer theory, Baldwin's essays hitting like friendly fire, challenging his binaries. Evenings, he cooked bison burgers from home vacuumed packs, adapted vegan for Elias, stories seasoning the meals like spices. One such night, as they lingered over dessert, Elias's berry crisp, Harlan cleared his throat. Got something for you, RAF. He slid a small box across the table, leather-bound and worn. Inside, a medal, Bronze Star, inscribed with a date from '09. For the day I led my team out of an ambush. Saved 8 lives. But the real fight? Saving mine, with you. Raphael's fingers trembled as he pinned it beside the rainbow, the metals clashing in quiet harmony. Dad. But harmony fractured midweek. A call from Montana, Margaret, Harlan's almost girlfriend, voice tight with concern. Town's buzzing, Harlan. Old photos surfacing, you at that Pride counter-protest in the 90s. Folks talking. Harlan's face drained, memories assaulting, younger, angrier, marching with vets against the agenda, shame now a noose. He hung up, retreating to the balcony, scotch in hand. Raphael found him there, staring at the sound. What happened? Past biting back. Harlan's voice cracked. I protested Pride events. Signs, chants. Thought I was protecting values. Yours included. The revelation landed like a gut punch. Raphael recoiled, the progress of weeks crumbling. You. Against us? Against me. Before I knew. Before you. Harlan reached, but Raphael shrugged away. Elias mediated from the doorway, his calmer lifeline. Talk it through. Hate's learned, so's love. Hours stretched into raw dialogue, accusations flying like shrapnel, Harlan's apologies landing amid tears. I was blind, son. War teaches kill or be killed, not see or be seen. By dawn, exhaustion forged truce. Raphael forgave, not fully, but enough. Love's ledger never balanced clean. Harlan vowed amends, a donation to the gallery, anonymous but ample. Yet the external storm raged. Hale escalated, filing a bogus noise complaint against the apartment, sirens wailing at midnight. Ruiz, reluctant, knocked, but Harlan answered, badge out, his military ID gleaming. Stand down, trooper. The retreat was swift, but fear lingered. Raphael's poetry dried up, his shifts mechanical. Elias noticed, pulling him into embraces that mended fractures. We're unbreakable, he whispered, but doubt shadowed his eyes. As October chill deepened, Harlan prepared to leave, packing with quiet resolve. Call me. Anytime. At the door, he hugged Raphael fierce. That pin? Wear it for both of us now. Raphael watched the truck fade into fog, heart a battlefield of hope and haunt. Elias drew him inside, their lovemaking a reclamation, bodies mapping forgiveness. But in the precinct, Hale plotted deeper cuts, alliances forming in dark corners, the city's pulse quickening toward crisis. November draped Seattle in gunmetal grays, leaves carpeting sidewalks like fallen soldiers. Raphael threw himself into work, the steam of the espresso machine a veil against vulnerability. Cascade brew buzzed with holiday prep, pumpkin spice yielding to evergreen dreams, but Raphael's smiles felt scripted, the rainbow pin a flickering beacon. Elias's exhibit had drawn acclaim, reviews in The Stranger praising its unflinching intimacy, yet the hate mail piled, anonymous barbs slicing deeper than acclaim healed. One shift, Lena pulled him aside during lull. Kid, you're fraying. That run-in with the coach? The cops? It's stirring shit. Her eyes, lined with coal and experience, softened. I've been there, 98, bashing outside a club. Lost a tooth, gained a scar. She tapped her jaw. But scars toughen. Lean on us. Raphael nodded, gratitude warming the chill. Thanks. Harlan, his trying. But the past. Past is prologue, Lena quipped, quoting her favorite lit professor write a new chapter. Inspired, Raphael dusted off his notebook that evening, words flowing tentative, verses on paternal medals clashing with pride flags, love as fragile as fog. Elias read them by lamplight, his photographer's eye capturing the emotion. Raw beauty, he said, kissing Raphael's temple. Submit to the slam next week. Hesitation warred with hunger. What if they come? Hail, Delaney. Then we shine brighter. Elias's resolve was infectious, pulling Raphael into a dance around the living room, vinyl spinning Billie Holiday's Velvet Ache. Harlan called daily, updates from Montana laced with vulnerability, therapy sessions unpacking his protest days, letters penned to old comrades on acceptance. Margaret's warming to it, he shared one night. Even flew a flag, subtle, but there. Raphael's heart swelled, the bridge strengthening. Miss you, Dad. Mutual, son. But betrayal brewed in unexpected quarters. At the poetry slam in a dimly lit basement club off Cal Anderson Park, Raphael took the stage, lights hot on his skin, pin glinting like a dare. His piece, medals and rainbows, unfolded, stanzas of Harlan's foxholes bleeding into Seattle alleys, love's quiet revolutions. The crowd roared, snaps and cheers, a thunder of validation. Elias filmed from the front row, pride beaming. But as Raphael descended, a figure approached, Ruiz, Hale's partner, out of uniform, expression conflicted. Saw the post online. Your words. Hit home. I'm bi, hid it for years. Hale or his poison. Watch for the rally this weekend. Pride Archive event at the library. He's whispering to brass, trying to shut it down. Raphael's blood chilled. Why tell me? Ruiz glanced away, shame etching his face. Because silence kills. And your old man? Legend. Saved my uncle in Enam, stories passed down. Alliance formed in whispers, Ruiz slipping away like a ghost. Raphael relayed to Elias, who captured the exchange in notes for a potential doc. This could expose them, Elias said, excitement edged with caution. The weekend rally loomed, a queer history archive unveiling, funded by community grants, featuring artifacts from local legends, letters from Harvey Milk correspondents, Polaroids of first kisses in hidden parks. Raphael volunteered, manning a table on modern narratives, his pin a conversation starter. Harlan, sensing urgency in Raphael's texts, drove up unannounced, arriving as setup buzzed. Back up, he declared, unloading boxes with efficient grace. Father and son worked side by side, banter lightening the load. Elias joined, camera slung, documenting the build. Family affair, he teased, snapping candids of Harlan arranging faded banners, his stern features softened by purpose. Crowd swelled by noon, families, activists, elders with canes and stories. Speeches flowed, tales of raids on gay bars in the 70s, triumphs of marriage equality. Raphael spoke briefly, voice steady, our histories aren't footnotes, they're the spine of this city. Applause crested, but so did chaos. Hale and Delaney burst through the doors, badges flashing, backed by 2 uniforms. Unpermitted gathering, Hale barked. Clear out. Panic rippled, but Harlan stepped forward, chest broad. I've got permits right here, signed by the council. You disrupting on false pretenses? Hale sneered. Your word against ours, Colonel. Then Ruiz materialized from the crowd, radio in hand. Stand down, Hale. Captain's orders, verified. This is sanctioned. Betrayal flashed in Hale's eyes, raw and venomous. You traitor! Enough, Harlan thundered, voice echoing off vaulted ceilings. You've got families here. Kids learning. Back off, or I call in favors from DC that make your shift look like a vacation. The standoff stretched, seconds elastic, until Hale retreated, dragging Delaney, glares promising reprisal. Cheers erupted, hugs enveloping Raphael. Elias captured it all, his lens a shield. Harlan pulled his son close. Told you, all together. But elation soured that night. In the apartment, buzzed on victory wine, Raphael's phone lit with a message from an unknown, photo of Elias, laughing at the slam, captioned your artist's next. Loose lips sink ships. Paranoia spiked. Someone's watching, Raphael breathed, showing Elias. Elias paled but steadied. Ruiz? Or deeper? Harlan, overhearing, paced. I'll dig. Old contacts. As snow dusted the sound for the first time, the threat loomed, turning sanctuary to siege. Raphael's poems turned darker, verses of love under siege, while Elias's camera clicked relentlessly, archiving the siege. Lena hosted a watch party at the shop, comrades gathering, fellow baristas, slam poets, even a librarian from the rally. Stories swapped, strategies hatched, petitions to IA, viral posts planned. In quiet moments, Raphael and Elias reclaimed intimacy, bodies entwined against the cold, whispers weaving vows. No matter what, Elias murmured, tracing the pin's curve. Harlan stayed, sleeping on the couch, his presence a bulwark. One dawn, as they jogged, he shared a memory. In Delta, we had a rule, leave no man behind. Applies here. Raphael squeezed his hand mid-stride. Never again. Yet crisis crested unexpectedly. A break-in at the gallery, photos slashed, archives scattered. Elias arrived to devastation, shards of frames crunching underfoot. They targeted us, he choked, Raphael holding him as sobs racked. Police, clean ones this time, dusted for prints, but evidence pointed nowhere. Hale's shadow loomed, untouchable. Raphael's resolve hardened. We rebuild. Louder. Harlan nodded, eyes fierce. And I testify. Full disclosure, my past, all of it. For you. The path to healing twisted, but they walked it, hands linked, the city's heartbeat syncing with theirs. Winter clamped down on Seattle like a vice, holiday lights strung across streets a defiant glow against encroaching dark. The gallery break-in splashed across local news, stranger headlines screaming hate targets queer archive, igniting a firestorm. Donations poured in, volunteers swarmed, but the violation lingered, a psychic bruise on Elias's spirit. He threw himself into repairs, gluing frames with hands that trembled less each day, Raphael at his side, sanding edges smooth as apologies. Harlan became fixture, his truck a mobile HQ for supplies. Seen worse in war zones, he quipped, hauling lumber, but his eyes betrayed the toll, sleepless nights scanning security cams, old instincts flaring. He reached out to networks, retired brass with DPD ties, a favor call to a Fed buddy in Quantico. Unofficial, he assured Raphael over diner pancakes one morning, syrup pooling like unspoken fears. But we'll nail the bastards. Raphael nodded, fork midway. Just don't go lone wolf, Dad. Promise. Harlan's smile crinkled crow's feet. Team effort. The rebuild doubled as ritual, community potlucks in the gutted space, elders sharing repair tales from raided bars of yore. Lena orchestrated catering, vegan tamales from her cousin's truck, while Ruiz dropped anonymous tips, his redemption arc unfolding in shadows. Elias's camera documented it all, time-lapse of walls mending, portraits of hands, calloused, inked, young, working in unison. This is the real exhibit, he told Raphael one evening, as they painted over graffiti scars, blue hues evoking Puget Sound depths. Resilience in real time. Raphael dipped his brush, streaking Elias's cheek with cerulean. Like us. Their kiss followed, paint-smeared and urgent, a reclaiming amid chaos. But internal fractures widened. Harlan's testimony loomed, an IA hearing on Hale's conduct, his own protest history weaponized by defense. They'll drag me through mud, he confessed during a late-night Scotch session on the fire escape, city sprawl glittering below. Call me hypocrite. Raphael joined him, blanket draped over shoulders. You're not. You're human. Evolving. Harlan's laugh was wry. Evolution hurts like hell. The hearing convened in a sterile conference room downtown, fluorescent buzz underscoring tension. Harlan sat ramrod, medals pinned under his jacket like hidden talismans. Raphael and Elias waited outside, hands clasped, thumbs tracing anxious circles. Inside, questions barraged. Colonel Whitaker, your participation in 1990s anti-pride demonstrations, does that not undermine your credibility here? Harlan met the panel's gaze, voice steady. It underscores it. I was wrong then, blinded by fear, by what I didn't understand. My son, Raphael, opened my eyes. He's gay, proud, and braver than any soldier I led. Officer Hale's actions? Echo that old hate. I stand against it now, fully. Gasps rippled, then silence. Hale, across the table, smirked until Ruiz took the stand. I witnessed the taunts. Participated, at first. Shame on me. But Hale's crossed lines, the break-in, whispers to shut down events. Evidence in my locker, texts, logs. The room erupted, Hale lunging, restrained by bailiffs. As cuffs clicked, Harlan's testimony sealed the fracture, not betrayal, but reckoning. Outside, Raphael crushed his father in a hug. You did it. We did. Harlan's eyes misted. Proud. Elias captured the embrace, frame frozen in eternity. Vindication bloomed, but so did vulnerability. With Hale suspended pending charges, Delaney vanished, rumors of flight to relatives in Spokane. Yet the threats persisted, slashed tires on Elias's van, graffiti on the apartment door, fags out. Raphael's poetry slam return loomed, a Valentine's event at the club, theme Hearts Unchained. He crafted a cycle, odes to Elias's touch, Harlan's redemption, the city-scarred embrace. Rehearsals with Elias turned intimate, verses recited between caresses, building to crescendo. Harlan, back in Montana for a week, ranch calls, returned with reinforcements, Margaret, spry and sharp-tongued, bearing pies and acceptance. Heard the stories, she told Raphael over tea. Your dad's a softy under the bark. The slam night crackled with energy, club packed to rafters. Raphael ascended, mic in hand, pin aglow. His set poured forth, in the foxhole of family, medals melt to mirrors reflecting rainbows in the rain, a love, not a battlefield, but a bridge. The room held breath, then exploded, standing ovation, roses tossed like confetti. Elias rushed the stage, kiss sealing the triumph. But as they exited into crisp night, shadows detached, Delaney, wild-eyed, bottle in hand. You ruined him, Hale's my brother-in-law, you freaks. Lunging, he swung, but Harlan intercepted, wrenching the arm with practiced precision. Enough. Sirens wailed, back up from a passing patrol, clean this time. Delaney subdued, spat curses, but the die cast, arrests mounting, the web unraveling. Back home, adrenaline crashed into catharsis. Margaret played diplomat, drawing Elias into ranch tales, while Harlan and Raphael shared a quiet beer. Healing's not linear, Harlan mused. But damn if it ain't worth the scars. Raphael clinked bottles. To Bridges. Winter thawed to tentative spring, gallery reopening with fanfare, Elias's expanded show, mended frames, drawing crowds. Raphael's poems published in a local zine, words rippling outward. Yet crisis peaked in subtlety, Elias, post-reopen, confessed over Dawn coffee. Got an offer, residency in New York, 6 months. Big break. Raphael's heart stuttered. And us? Elias's eyes pleaded. Come? Or? Space. Torn, Raphael sought Harlan, driving to Montana for clarity. The ranch sprawled under big skies, fences mended, air crisp with pine. Harlan met him at the gate, embrace bearish. Elias called. Worried. Days blurred, chopping wood, mending irrigation, talks by firelight. Loves a deployment, Harlan advised. Long hauls, rotations. But worth the wait. Raphael chose, return, commit. New York's a chapter, not the book. Back in Seattle, he proposed, not ring, but promise, tandem applications, shared dreams. Elias wept, yes a whisper. Harlan visited for Pride Prep, marching beside, pin on his lapel mirroring Raphael's. Full circle. But the arc bent toward shadow once more, Hale's trial loomed, witnesses subpoenaed, Raphael central. Threats resurfaced, voicemails laced with venom. In the courtroom hush, Hale's defense painted him victim, Raphael villain. Testimonies clashed, Ruiz's redemption, Harlan's gravitas. Verdict, guilty, sentencing a hollow victory amid appeals. Raphael emerged drained, Elias and Harlan flanking. It's over, Elias soothed. But was it? In quiet aftermath, Raphael penned finale, healing not endpoint, but horizon. Spring unfurled in Seattle with hesitant blooms, cherry blossoms dusting alleys pink against the eternal gray. The trial's echo faded like retreating thunder, Hale's incarceration a cold comfort, but the scars it etched ran deeper than surface. Raphael woke some night slick with sweat, dreams blending courtroom gavels with alley sneers, the rainbow pin twisting into chains. Elias held him through it, murmurs of here, always, but distance crept, New York's pull a siren song, residency dates looming like deadlines. Harlan sensed the strain during weekly calls, his voice a steady anchor from Montana. Ranch is quiet without you. Margaret's pushing for a visit, her and me, official-like. Raphael mustered a laugh. About time. Tell her congrats on taming the colonel. She's tougher than boot camp. Pause. And you, son? Holding? Barely. Honesty spilled then, the nightmares, Elias's packed suitcase half hidden in the closet, the fear that victory had hollowed them. Come home, Harlan urged. Air clears heads. Raphael booked the flight, Elias opting for space, work on the pitch deck for joint apps. Their goodbye kiss lingered, bittersweet, promises laced with uncertainty. Montana welcomed with open skies, the ranch a balm of vastness. Harlan met him at Billings Airport, Margaret beside, her handshake firm, eyes kind. Heard you're the poet. Harlan reads your stuff, aloud, even. The drive wound through Badlands, sagebrush whispering secrets. At the house, a modest log affair with porch swing creaking in breeze, dinner unfolded, venison stew adapted vegetarian, stories seasoning stew like herbs. Margaret shared her own, widow to a vet, coming out at 50 to her kids. Took time, but blood's thicker than bias. Harlan watched Raphael absorb, pride softening his gaze. Post-meal, they walked fence lines, boots crunching gravel. Elias, good man. But distance tests. Raphael nodded, kicking a stone. Feels like I'm losing ground. Then claim it. Harlan halted, facing him. I lost years with you, a silence as strategy. Don't repeat. Words sank roots, prompting calls to Elias, late-night confessions, plans sketched, New York Scouts for Raphael's writing, tandem exhibits. Back in Seattle, reinvigorated, Raphael dove into community, mentoring at a youth center, pin a badge for scared teens echoing his youth. One, a lanky kid named Theo with dyed blue hair, confided locker room taunts. Wear it loud, Raphael advised, gifting a spare pin. They're afraid of your shine. Elias's departure neared, airport farewell a gut wrench. 6 months, he vowed, luggage thumping. Then us, everywhere. Raphael clung, tears hot. Build worlds. I'll follow. Solitude hit like monsoon, apartment echoing with ghosts. Shifts at Cascade stretched endless, Lena's quips a lifeline. Channel it, write the ache. Poems surged, elegies to empty beds, odes to deferred dreams. Submitted to a national contest, Fractured Prisms, they won honorable mention, publication in Poets and Writers a Spark. Harlan visited Midsummer, timing with a family barbecue, Montana style, but inclusive, Margaret's daughter, queer and partnered, bringing her wife. Laughter rang under string lights, Harlan grilling with uncharacteristic flair. To found families, he toasted, glass raised. Raphael pulled him aside later, stars wheeling overhead. It's everything I fought for. You earned it. Harlan's hug enveloped. But fight's not over. Heard from a contact, hails appealing, digging dirt. Chill despite warmth. On me. On all. Stay vigilant. Vigilance sharpened as fall-tinted leaves amber. Elias's updates glowed, Manhattan galleries buzzing, photos of Raphael pinned to his studio wall. Missing your light, texts read, followed by voice notes husky with want. Raphael reciprocated, visits planned, Thanksgiving in the city. But betrayal struck swift, a leaked email chain, Hale's prison scribbles forwarded anonymously, accusations of Raphael's seduction of Ruiz, smears twisting testimony to perjury claims. News hit like ambush, local blog post, queer activists' lies exposed. Comments venomous, sponsors pulling from Elias's show. Panic clawed. Raphael called Harlan, voice fracturing. They're coming again. Fight smart. Harlan's plan coalesced, lawyers, countersuits, public statement. Elias, mid-residency, booked red-eye. Not without you. United, they drafted, op-ed in The Stranger, Raphael's words raw, hate recycles lies, but truth endures. My story, son of a soldier, lover of an artist, survivor of shadows. Publication viralized, support surging, donations, shares, even a celebrity retweet from an out actor. Harlan flew in, testimony prepped for appeal hearing. Courtroom redux, Hale's proxies slinging mud, but Raphael's poise shone, Harlan's rebuttal ironclad. Lies crumble under scrutiny. My son's truth? Unbreakable. Dismissal granted, appeal quashed. Elation crested, but exhaustion shadowed. Post-victory, Elias proposed extension, stay through New Year? Your writing's blooming here. Temptation ward, career versus couple. Raphael chose heart, together, or not at all. Elias relented, packing for homecoming. Winter solstice brought him back, airport reunion a torrent, kisses amid falling snow, Harlan waiting with truck, Margaret's pie warming backseat. Holidays healed, tree trimmed with mixed ornaments, military baubles beside pride flags. Feasts blended traditions, poems recited by fire, love's quiet revolutions. But crisis crested in intimacy's wake. One night, post-lovemaking, Elias confessed, the residency. It changed me. Saw worlds, but yours is home. Raphael, tracing scars on Elias's back, from a childhood fall, not war, whispered, then build here. With me. Plans hatched, joint studio in Capitol Hill, grant applications for doc on Queer Montana. Harlan, sensing closure, prepared departure. You've got this. At the door, he pinned his bronze star on Raphael's jacket. Carry it. With the rainbow. Tears flowed, embrace eternal. Love you, Dad. Always. As spring whispered promises, Raphael stood at the waterfront, Elias's hand in his, Harlan's medal heavy with legacy. The sound stretched, horizon calling, not to fracture, but to forge. Yet one shadow lingered, a letter from Hale, prison postmarked. You win this round. But watch the ones you love. Dismissed, but etched. Healing's path wound on, resilient. Summer sun gilded Seattle's edges, softening the perpetual drizzle into memory. Raphael and Elias's new studio hummed in a converted loft above a tattoo parlor, walls papered in sketches and stanzas, the rainbow pin now joined by a matching one on Elias's collar, subtle solidarity. Grants flowed, funding for Echoes Unsilenced, a multimedia project blending Raphael's poetry with Elias's lenses, chronicling queer lives from Montana plains to urban veins. Launch is planned for fall, buzz building like pre-storm static. Harlan's visits normalized, the ranch a second home. He and Margaret wed in a quiet ceremony, backyard vows under aspen shade, Raphael best man, Elias capturing frames. Full circle, Harlan murmured during toast, voice thick. From foxholes to this. Raphael's writing career ignited, chapbook release, pins and promises, readings drawing crowds from slams to bookstores. Theo, the mentee, opened for him once, blue hair faded but spirit fierce. You showed me how, the kid said post-set, hug awkward but earnest. Lena promoted Raphael to shift lead at Cascade, the shop a nexus of community, pride fundraisers, open mics. Life wove tapestry, mornings jogs with Elias, camera clicking mid-stride, afternoons scripting, words dancing, evenings tangled, bodies mapping futures. But the letter from Hale festered, a splinter under skin. Anonymous notes followed, vague threats to expose secrets, shadows at readings. Raphael confided in Harlan during a July visit, the two fishing the sound from a rented skiff, lines bobbing lazy. Old wounds, Harlan grunted, reeling a trout. But we've scarred over. Doubt nagged. Elias, sensing, delved, hacking contacts from art world allies, tracing postmarks to a prison insider, Hale's cousin, grudge eternal. Confrontation brewed, a meet arranged, neutral ground, a park bench in Discovery Park, Harlan insisting on chaperone. No risks. The cousin arrived slouched, eyes darting. Hale's rotting, but he talks. Says your boy's got skeletons, high school stuff, payoffs. Lies, but venomous. Raphael, hidden nearby with recorder, stepped out. End it. Or we go public, your ties, the forgeries. Bluff landed, cousin crumbled, vow of silence bought with exposure threat. Closure tasted bitter, but final. With shadows banished, freedom bloomed. August brought a road trip, Raphael, Elias, Harlan, Margaret, spanning from Seattle to Billings, stops at queer landmarks. In Boise, a drag brunch. In Missoula, a history museum with restored pride banners. Harlan engaged, questions probing, growth palpable. At Journey's End, ranch barbecue, expanded circle, Theo flown in, Lena road tripping along. Laughter echoed canyons, fireside tales weaving bonds. Fall gallery show premiered, echoes packed, projections of Raphael's words overlaying Elias's images, Harlan's portrait central, eyes reflecting medals and acceptance. Speech, Raphael's voice, steady. This is for the mocked, the mended. For fathers who learn, lovers who endure. Applause thundered, Harlan in front row, tears unashamed. Post-show, walking home under harvest moon, Elias knelt, ring simple, silver band etched with rainbow facets. Marry me? Not in law, but in us. Raphael's yes shattered night, kiss ceiling. Harlan, waiting with champagne, embraced them. Knew it. Wedding planned small, spring, ranch chapel, vows blending military precision with poetic flourish. Invites to all, Lena officiating, Theo ring bearer. Winter past gentle, preparations joy. Harlan shared letters to old comrades, coming out as ally. Your light, sun. Crisis's embers? Extinguished. Hale's appeal denied, sentence extended. Spring bloomed riotous, ceremony under aspens, Raphael in linen suit, pin gleaming, Elias in overalls tailored, camera sidelined. Vows, in rainbows and foxholes, I choose you. Rings exchanged, kiss amid cheers. Reception, dances wild, Harlan twirling Margaret, Raphael and Elias slow under stars. Honeymoon, Cascades cabin, days hiking, nights entwined, futures sketched. Years folded, studio thriving, book tours for Raphael, exhibits global for Elias. Harlan's ranch hosted annual gatherings, legacy expanded. One evening, decades on, Raphael graying at temples, Harlan frail but fierce, porch swing creaked. Worth every battle, Harlan whispered, hand on sons. Every one. Raphael's eyes, hazel still piercing, held the rainbow's promise. Love, they learned, wasn't absence of storm, but sailing through, human, flawed, profound. In Seattle's enduring rain, prisms fractured light into endless color.